2 years ago, the Corvette was hurtling towards an uncontrollable, power-manic future, destined for the closest white picket fence on the block. That's what cracking under pressure looks like. That's never really been the American way, though, and instead what pierced through the pattern is this: a shock to the system and a bit of a blind confidence prepped for the ever-expanding exotic world. The next generation Corvette. Welcome back to the show, you guys. Today we're driving a 2020 Corvette C8 Z51 package. Finally, we are the last people on YouTube to drive a C8 Corvette, but it's okay because we're here now, and this has been magnificently specced out. Okay, so LT2 naturally aspirated 6.2 liter V8 behind me. This is an incredible moment in American car history, and I'm getting excited today because it's my first time actually driving it. But the Corvette story is an incredibly long story, and it's one that has many misses, many hits, many failures. Some of the hits right off the top of my mind: C5 Z06, the lightest Corvette ever made. That is absolutely, as far as the track car goes, one of the many well-built Corvettes over the years. Some of the misses, although I haven't driven one, C3 Corvette, by all accounts, those just drive like shit. They look amazing, but they're dinosaurs. What we're looking for here is options. The one I'm driving today, thanks to WheelPros in Langley, BC, has been fitted with the all-important, yes, Z51 and 3LT packages, which here adds magnetic ride, an ELSD versus the standard mechanical, and these GT2 seats, a bit less aggressive than the competition option. This one's also sitting on a striking one-of-one custom set of niche monoblock forged wheels, black on black. From where I'm standing, an undeniable upgrade over most of the factory options. They're the only ones in the world, okay, and these were built specifically for this setup. It's got a 315 section wide rear tire in the back, 255s up front. I think it's a 21 by 12 wheel in the rear, and a 20 by 9 in the front. So those are the wheel and tire specs. That's everything that's been changed on this car. Other than that, it's a factory car. Wow. Tremec 8-speed dual clutch, putting in work. I mean, initial impressions, this is so far ahead in refinement to where the C7 was. And the C7 Z06 manual specifically was just a brute force machine. And when I drive those cars, it is an absolute sports car. The C7 Z06, absolute monster of a sports car, track car. But there is such a difference now that I almost want to call the C7 now a muscle car, because context is everything. And when you hop in the C8 here, this is fast approaching supercar status. Now, of course, being an NA engine, GM's going for an incredibly flat torque curve here. And there have been a number of dyno videos on YouTube dynoing this car in its factory form. And what we're finding, which is what you would kind of expect from mainly German manufacturers, but here in the Corvette, the C8 is, you know, kind of underrated from the factory. This has been shown to be putting down high 400s at the wheels versus GM stating this makes 495 horsepower at the crank. Not sure whose idea it was or what gates this passed through to create a square steering wheel here. Not the right move. Just absolutely not the right move. It fits the visibility profile of the windshield and does allow for great visibility, but that is about it. Wow, okay. Turn-in is endless. It seems to be pretty endless here on the street. Just keep feeding in steering input. You know, Corvettes have always been, especially when you're going from like traction on to traction off, the front engine vets have a tendency to get, it's just tougher to find that perfect spot of balance mid-corner time and time again, and to find that reliable balance. I mean, C6 to C7 was a leap, but this is next level. You know, you would think that the front engine vets would be more of a touring vehicle, but after experiencing the C8 here, this is absolutely more of a grand tourer than like a C7 Z06. Woo! I mean, it's more of a computer than I would have liked. It's more of a numbers machine than I would have liked, but it's got noise, it's got grip, it's got the looks. This is only step one in uncharted territory, carving the way for the fast-approaching Z06, packing a high-revving, dual overhead cam, flat-plane crank V8. Sound familiar? Although Shelby's GT350R and its Symphony only graced the production line for a few moments, the result was a diamond in Ford's timeline, passed on to the drivers as a gift to live on in the hands of diehards who are happy to face its now clear and deep-rooted engineering issues head-on. The Z06 isn't the first to shock the cross-plane party, but instead it's a long-term play, okay, destined for a war with the exotics. And with production abundance, of course, comes depreciation, a polar trajectory to the R. But the Z06 has a taller mountain to climb, even if the crumbling future of the naturally aspirated supercar is pretty much set in stone. There's a trade-off because the C8 is a value car. This is one of the lowest cost mid-engine cars, period, ever made. Coming from an MR2 turbo, someone who used to own, I shouldn't have sold that car. I fell in love with the mid-engine experience. It is the future. It is the right way to do a sports car, hands down, whether it be an automatic or manual. Now, one of the biggest mistakes was Corvette missing out on the, albeit it's a very small part of the market, but creating a manual mid-engine vehicle. It is a dying breed. We're in I mean, wow, to experience a GM vehicle with a proper transmission that isn't absolute trash is a first. This is a first. Congratulations. You've done it. Track mode, the steering changes up. Wow, quite a bit. Substantial difference in the steering. Just the initial turn-in is much more aggressive. Super sharp. Now 315's in the back. We are not going to be losing rear end traction anytime soon. Oh my God. Wow, the balance is absolutely incredible. That is ridiculous. Rear end, the rear end feels like it's way ahead of the front end. It rotates quicker than I would have imagined. It is I mean, it's a GT car, it's a track car, it's a monster, and it's also an American dinosaur all wrapped into one. You guys tell me though, is the C8, maybe from a Japanese car perspective or from a European car perspective, this is a weird thing. It feels like it should be an armrest of some kind, but it's not. I think they're getting rid of this. Is the C8 is it an interesting car for European or Japanese car audiences? Will it be enough to sway European mid-engine car fans and supercar fans towards a slightly different experience here? Because it is using high quality interior materials, but at the same time, does it have the passion? I want to see the passion here. And what's really been happening on the internet over this past year plus now with the C8, what I just love to see and where the passion is coming from is in the aftermarket. What I'm seeing with the C8 is a divergence in the character strategy. Now, rather than relying on the product itself to exclusively embody the passion behind it, GM actually has decided to embrace the modified world and is thrilled to see the community tear it apart and modify it and test their cars at the limit. While the world watches, the passion that comes through this is totally tangible. A stellar tool, if you ask me. How many build videos on Lotus Evoras and Caymans have you watched this week? Just a question. And I think that's incredibly valuable. I think the passion that comes from the aftermarket community in creating your own one-of-one C8 has huge potential to potentially find flaws or shortcomings in the Corvette and to just kind of build the excitement around the brand. And I think that just comes down to the mentality and the spirit of the country. That's what we do here in North America. We modify cars and we don't stop till they do exactly what we want, and then that gets boring and then you just keep going. You want to do more and more and more. And with the C8, it's no different. I mean, yeah, here on the street, you're not finding understeer. All right, you guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been the C8 Corvette. I'm sure we'll do a couple more videos with it in the future. We can always take it out to a bigger road, to the track potentially, and maybe find some different angle, maybe pit it up against some of its competition. Who knows? Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you have not already. Hit me up on Instagram at Untraveled. And yeah, maybe hit the notification bell. You can see what we're filming and driving coming up here. We've got a lot of cool stuff coming up, and I think you may want to keep up. We'll see you next time.